Adaptability is the number one thing, because we can take something we learn, be inspired by it, and then it's like, how do I maximize this? We need to be really intentional about, if we buy a book, read that whole book. Even if you only read one chapter a day, just be intentional and then apply it. Apply that chapter, apply the second chapter. If we're watching a video on YouTube, watch it, but learn, write your notes down, and then say, how can I apply this? Because we don't just want to fill up our minds, we actually want it to flow into usually our heart, because we have to have a heart for sharing it with others.
You're listening to Rise from the Ashes podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here at part 2 with Tony. The first part was him sharing his story about overcoming addiction, manipulative tactics, and finding hope, not just within Christ, but himself. Admitting and surrendering to a journey that often a lot of us find very, very difficult to do so. He is testament, literally, to coming 360, full circle from being the person he most despised to someone he's kind of getting to like, even love. And the outward impact that he has had around the world and in his communities has been tremendous. So Tony, you went from being a not so nice guy to being a nice guy.
Yeah.
The transition is incredible. I mean, I love these stories. I love people like yourself who are humble. They're very, very heart-centered, and they teach and guide from the heart. What have you got going on now? You've got all of that stuff done. You've had all these lessons under your belt. You had a lot of experience, good, bad, ugly, some of the other stuff, but you've transformed into somebody and something that's really fueling your life now. Can you speak into that briefly?
Absolutely. So I do coaching, business coaching. When I was in the hotel industry, we do what's called revenue management. So it's kind of how to work all the numbers, whether you want to be sold out, whether not to be sold out, what profits the most, whether to know how to do overbooking, right? Because you're going to have cancellations. And so I was teaching that for a very long time from the secular world, while also pastoring a church and planting churches and small groups and communities. I'm more of a outside the walls church. I don't like building the kingdom up. I call it the 3 deadly B's: bodies, buildings, and bucks. You know, a lot of churches, unfortunately, sadly, like, it's about money, it's about filling seats, and it's about building their own kingdom. And I was discipled by a very good guy. It's like, no, we need to reach into the community. We got to love on the community. There's people that are really hurting, people like me, right? That I was. And they need to be helped. They need to be come alongside of. They need to be encouraged. They need to be poured into. A lot of them can't afford things. We didn't want to supply, food or clothing or haircuts, things that maybe they can't afford. And so that's kind of been all my mentality. And that ministry has not only gone across the nation, but even around the world. Even as of right now, I'm in Uganda and has done business training. I'm in the process of writing a few more, but right now I have 8 books. I have a sales mastery book. So I took, and in the preface, it actually goes over a little bit of my testimony. It starts with liquid lunches, right? And then kind of goes in, because during the day I drink a lot, but I was so talented I could come back and outsell everybody. And my managers and everything would never fire me. I had one GM say, and it's in the book, he says, I'd rather stick a needle in my eye than fire me. Unfortunately, the guy that wanted the meeting was my direct manager before the owner GM. And he just put his head on the ground like, I literally called you to kind of scold him not to say that in the opening term. And so that's in the book, and it kind of tells you the journey. And then it gets into like ethical sales, question sales, how to ask, how to go through the 7 steps, understanding where somebody's at, the situation, what have they tried, what wasn't working, kind of go over the dream scenario, what are they trying to attain, where are they at right now, and what's the consequences of not attaining that, which we call the consequence awareness. And then we can get into how to achieve what they're trying to achieve. So wrote the book on sales, and it's ethical, it's top notch, it's great, it's wonderful. It's been battle tested over and over again. So I coach on that. I do seminars on that. And of course, from the sales, because I was into motivational speaking back in the day, even in the car business, I was talking to lots. I was kind of in that realm of the Cardone and everything else. So had a lot of people I listened to, but again, it was from a different heart. And influence was a big thing. So I teach on public speaking and communication, which then got me into storytelling. How do you do storytelling, whether that's content creation, whether that's business, right? Data versus stories, which are they going to remember? Nobody remembers stats and when board meetings and things like that, storytelling. And so I wrote a book on storytelling. There's coming out in communication, public speaking. I wrote a book on LinkedIn Unlocked. And so how to leverage LinkedIn. And then of course I have the Christian ones, from multiplication and discipleship. And I have a few more in that path. And I got another one, probably 2 or 3 more for the business path. So I have a business series on Amazon, and that's kind of coming together. So right now I think it's the 5 books or 6 books that are in the business series. And let's see what else. And I teach on artificial intelligence. So I love doing boot camps. I teach AI, how to leverage AI, whether that's in writing books or music or just making money, how to do influence, whether it's in podcasts or anything, content creation. And so I've been doing that for a while. I actually just did a seminar here in Uganda, and great job. I mean, the individuals that went to the class, which was like a mix between storytelling and communication, they're excelling. I mean, they are really excelling. You look at their videos beforehand on TikTok, and now it's like, I'm even shocked. And I'm like, I'm the one that taught it, but I'm like, wow, you're doing a great job. So it just brings a lot of joy into my heart. And I'm just so happy to serve. That's why I do it now. I don't do it for me, and it's not about money. At the end of the day, if I'm blessed with the revenue that comes in from it, great. It's just an additional blessing. But I just love to get the information out there, because I know there's a lot of people that they have a heart to really be successful. They're like, I want to do well. I want to be able to communicate well. I want to be able to do storytelling, whether that's in my content creation to keep people on my videos, because I feel like what I have to share is relevant and it could help people. And so, for me, it's like putting whatever I've been gifted with and then sharing it with others. So that's some of the things I going on. And then also music, leveraging AI for music, which we'll get into, I'm sure, in a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the AI aspects of things. Obviously, it's fairly new. We had the boom a couple of years ago, and there's been an incredible influx of experts in AI, and I'll say that very loosely because there's so many. How have you been leveraging that, not just in your business, but actually teaching it to other people?
Yeah, so teaching it, it's just like anything else. It's trying to find out what somebody's vision is. What's their goal? Like, what are they ultimately trying to achieve? Once I find out what that is, I kind of get into, just like in a sales book, what's the situation? What are the things that they've actually been doing to attain that? Maybe they're going to bring up a little bit of AI. Maybe they're going to not bring up AI at all, or some don't even know what it is. If you're in Africa, they know it, but it's not very well known. So it depends on what country I was in. So I like to kind of see where people are at and not go over a lot of things that others have already done. I kind of like to go more unique, but what I do like is foundational things. Like, I think if you're using a ChatGPT or using some kind of prompt AI, you need to be a good prompt engineer, right? So at the end of the day, I am going to build a foundation on that. This is how you prompt. This is things that you want to do. I just did a AI book boot camp. I'm actually in the process of doing one right now as well. We're in probably the 4th week, and I'm walking him step by step through it. And so he's seeing me actually, because I already put together a whole PDF, kind of that way he gets that with the camp itself. So he always has that, but I actually walk him through it. So I'll say, this is how my mind works, just so you know. You see how I wrote it like this? I just thought of this. So if I see it like that, I'm going to remove this and I'm going to add that. And so for me, it's adaptive. And I believe AI is that very same thing. Like, if we're not adapting, if we're just watching like a video on YouTube and just doing it, I see it and I do it, I think we really miss the majority of the leveraging of AI. I really think adaptability is the number one thing, because we can take something we learn, be inspired by it, and then it's like, how do I maximize this? Because at the end of the day, no matter where somebody's at, I believe they can grow even in that. I mean, I've seen some of the best people of machine learning, people I've talked to and learned from. And let me tell you, one of them is the best in the world. Google pays him astronomical amount of money just to privately encourage them. And so, and kind of help them with development. And, he was telling me certain things. And what I even learned was that, wow, even then what he knows, he's actually still growing, and he has, like I said, probably one of the top in the world when it comes to artificial intelligence. And yet he's still scratching the surface of all this. So I think it's, staying humble. It's also understanding adaptability, and it's also trying to sharpen the toolbox. And from an applicable standpoint, I just feel like we need to figure out what's going to work for us, right? What I find, especially in this generation, is people love knowledge. This is why YouTube is so good. It's like, we've talked about go high level, or we've talked about other things, right? But what do people do? It's like, I watch this video, I attain this, I take this course on Udemy, or this course on Skillshare, I take this other, and we feed ourselves and feed ourselves and feed ourselves. And we have all these 10 different classes. We got the Premiere Pro, we got all these different things. And at the end of the day, guess how much is application? A very small portion. Hardly anybody applies what they actually learned, and they're paying all this money to figure out how to do it. So I think the number one thing is, don't be a knowledge-based person. Knowledge is good, but if you're not applying and you're not being practical, then you're going to throw it away, and all you're going to do is collect a lot of apps. You're going to collect a lot of books. You're going to have all your books on the bookshelf, and you've only read 2 of them, right? And then that's, I believe, the human nature. I think that's just part of who we are. And so I believe that intentionality is so important. We need to be really intentional about, if we buy a book, read that whole book. Even if you only read 1 chapter a day, just be intentional and then apply it. Apply that chapter, apply the second chapter. If we're watching a video on YouTube, watch it, but learn, write your notes down, and then say, how can I apply this? Because we don't just want to fill up our minds. We actually want it to flow into usually our heart, because we have to have a heart for sharing it with others. And that goes into our hands and our feet, which is actionable and practical.
I think that's very solid advice in general. I mean, there's a concept that I came across many years ago. It's not knowledge unless it's applied. And 99% of people who have binges of YouTube books, like you just said, it just sits on the side and they don't do anything with it. And then they question about, well, why is it not working? Well, did you do the thing that you learned, or did you just passively learn it and you didn't do anything with it? Most of the time, people passively learn. They know the knowledge,
right,
but they haven't actually done the thing that they know. And then they go, well, that didn't work. It failed. Well, you didn't fail because you didn't do the thing that you learned.
Exactly.
So I know you mentioned music.
Yes.
Please divulge, please tell us, because I'm an ex-DJ, as you know. I love music. I love, education with music. Can you please share with us what you've got going on there?
So as learning about artificial intelligence and, just ways that you can put it together, and from sounds to drums to, back then you had to use some kind of like GarageBand or Pro Tools or something like that. And nowadays it's getting so amazing with the leveraging that you can do with AI. I said, I have a testimony. I have a testimony from coming from where I was and going to where I am now. And I believe that, if I could put it out in song or music form where it actually sounds good, I believe that people will be able to listen to it. And every song, the way I built it, I always call it a FCF, fallen condition focus, right? That can come out of brokenness. It could come out of I believe it comes out of our nature, even as a child. You tell a kid, don't touch the cookie jar, and they want to touch a cookie jar. You put 2 kids with 1 toy in the middle of them, and they say, mine, mine. And so, you look at that, and they have that selfish nature already. So that's why parenting is so important, because you got to work those things out of their natural tendency to do those things. And so I put the fallen condition. Okay, where was I? What was the things I was struggling with? If it was a needle, I'm putting that in there. If it was, womanizing that certain thing and objectifying women, then I'm going to put that in there. If it's pornography or something like that, and I was struggling with that, then I'm going to put that in there. And so I just went through a whole vast. I wrote the first album. The band is called the Stillwater Saints Revival. And it's a mix between the Doors, the Beatles, and maybe some a little Pink Floyd, Creedence Clearwater, but mostly Doors, Beatles kind of mixed. And so I said, I'm going to go with that 70s classic style, classic rock style. And I'm just going to write these songs. And so I started writing the lyrics. I put my thoughts, I'm writing it down, I'm prompting, I say, hey, this is my story. I'm telling AI. And I'm like, I need to put together some lyrics for it. And then it would spit out lyrics. And of course, AI, especially in the GPT-4 days and other days, it hallucinates and you don't get it right. So then I would just erase this. I would add that. I'd take away this, but it gave me a framework to start working. And now I've actually had a second one. The first album was From Labyrinth to Light. And so it was kind of about a story of being in the labyrinth. It felt like a maze. I can never escape out of it. There was no hope, which is what we've been talking about today, to get into the place of light. So each song is structured that way. There's a part in the beginning that comes out of brokenness. And by the end of it, there's this redemptive hope. There's this hope that overcomes that fallen condition, whatever it is, that hurt, that pain, that struggle. And then I came out with the second album not too long ago called Midnight Mind. And a lot of that's from even my mental illness days, when I was struggling with that. And, it was like midnight mind means like the metaphor of darkness. It's like midnight all the time in here. That's where the greatest battle happened. And so it kind of goes through the things I'm hearing and the things that I'm believing about myself. And so then it gets into the hope after that. And now I got the new album coming out. It comes out probably this week, if not early next week. I believe it is this week, as long as everything goes well, but it's called Angel Limousine. And I'll just share it's the first time, so you get the exclusive on that. So before I even was transformed or anything, I did have an encounter with, I guess, Jesus, you could say, even before I gave my life and the testimony I told earlier. But I'm coming back from a place I shouldn't have been. And I'm driving, I borrowed my friend's BMW, so I have their really nice, expensive car, and I'm going to clubs and, objectifying people and everything else. And it was one of those moments where I didn't actually party that much that night. And prior to that, I'm hearing voices in my head saying, Tony Ajhar, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to murder you. I'm going to do it by drowning. This is where I started thinking there may be something spiritual, because I'm like, of course, I didn't think I was crazy at the time, but I did think that's pretty crazy that I'm hearing things, right, that nobody else can hear. And it kept telling me this. And so in my head, I'm in Florida, and I'm like, I'm just going to stay away from all water. Just in case, if there is some kind of demonic thing, like I said, I didn't believe in it, but I'm like, in case there is something out there that I just don't see, and there is a spiritual realm, even though I don't believe it, I'm just going to just stay away from water, because I keep being told that, they're going to murder me by drowning me. And I'm just going to, be a little bit smarter and go the opposite way kind of thing. So I'm driving, I'm at a stoplight. After that, I remember nothing. Somehow, and I still don't know how to put it together, whether theologically or even human-wise, but the car drives, makes a left, and then all of a sudden makes a right. And here's the thing. I wake up, I'm not even going to tell you what happened, but I wake up and I was having nightmares like over and over again, multiple times throughout those weeks that I've been told this, and I just couldn't sleep. I wake up, I look in front of me, I see this murky water, and all of a sudden I look and I see all these alligators in front of me, and all these like water moccasins, all these like snakes and alligators. I'm like, these dreams and nightmares are getting crazy. I'm like, I got to really do something. I'm like, I may check myself into a hospital or something, because this is getting crazy, right? Closed my eyes, and I felt like a shock to my body, like, somebody hit me with one of those electric things. And I kind of go like this, I look, I open my eyes, and again, I see this murky water and alligators all over the place and some snakes going by. And I'm just like, this is nuts, and I'm thinking, I can't even fall back asleep from a nightmare without having the same nightmare. This is crazy. And so I close my eyes again, and all of a sudden I feel that shock again. Some like shocked my body to wake me up, like almost supernatural. It was weird. But I open my eyes and I feel something tell me in my own like spirit or whatever, I don't know, but it tells me this is real life. And I just get tears that come down to my eyes. And I'm like, this thing got me. I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting there, I'm teary-eyed. I'm obviously in fear, and I wasn't a very fearful person. I lived on the edge, like complete edge. I didn't have fear, but I literally was scared here. I look around, I'm surrounded by murky water. I'm surrounded by alligators and snakes. And I'm just like, this thing, whatever it is, this is what I'm hearing. So for me, I couldn't put the two as a coincidence. But I'm like, I'm surrounded by water, and I try to look out the window, and I can't see the top of how far. I'm thinking in my head, like, if I break out the window and try to swim, I may drown. And I used to surf, in California and stuff. So anybody that's ever surfed, they know it's not fun to almost drown. It's probably one of the worst ways to die, probably outside of fire and probably some other things. But like drowning is horrible, right? And any surfer, trust me, they all almost drown. And so I'm like, I don't even know if I can make it. And that's if I survive alligators. Like they don't eat me alive. And I'm not trying to get eaten alive and go out like that. If I'm going to go out, that's not the way. That's probably worse than drowning, right? And so I just sat there kind of sad. And I just remembered, like, if you starve yourself or not drink something for a certain amount of days, like a week or whatever it was, you end up passing away or something. So I just decided I'm just going to, the water wasn't seeping into my friend's BMW. Good job, BMW, for building a good car. But I'm sitting in there and no water seeping in. So I'm like, I'm just going to not eat or drink. And I was super depressed. I was sad. And I threw up one of those Jesus prayers. I'm like, yo, Jesus, I'm like, sorry for anything I did or whatever. I was like, but if you can save me, it was just one of those moments where I just threw up that name. I was like, I'd appreciate it. I can't even promise I'm going to turn it around and my life's a mess, basically. And all of a sudden I say that prayer and I felt, again, the most beautiful strength in my life. I felt peace. And all of a sudden a memory pops into my head that I haven't even thought of 12 years before. It was a movie I saw 12 years before where somebody who actually was drowning, the water was rushing in. And the captain or whatever took his last breath, he let all the water come in through the window, took his last breath as soon as it went up, and then he swam out so he wouldn't be swimming against the current of the water coming in. And I thought to myself, that can't be a coincidence. Maybe this is a real prayer. Maybe it's being answered. Maybe I do need to kick out the window and do what this movie just played, because that cannot, to me, I was always a reasonable guy. I just was like, it can't be a coincidence. I just prayed, I asked, and now I have this peace. I'm not scared. And this is what I feel like it's telling me to do. So I get in the passenger seat, I kick out the window. I'll try to hurry up with the thing, but I kick out the window. I let all the water come in. I'm praying that no alligators or water moccasins are going to come in. I let all the water come in. They don't come in. I take my last breath and I start to swim out. I'm going and I don't see the top anywhere, not even close. I'm swimming, and I'm about to drown. I'm not getting eaten. And when I first came out, I blew as loud as I could, like very loud to scare the alligators, like that would work. But I was so nervous and scared. I'm just like, rah. And if you probably know this as a kid, all the kids, when they go in the pools, they blow out the air and they sink to the bottom and they hang out down there, right? Well, it's the same thing. Now it made it worse because now I'm kind of going up against my own weight. And so I'm about to drown. And all of a sudden I say that prayer in my head to Jesus. I'm just like, Jesus, I need help. I'm about to die. And I felt something come upon me and start breathing for me. And I'm thinking in my head, like, because you got to remember, I'm not a believer. So I'm like, this is crazy. But I'm still swimming because whatever it was, it's working. And I feel this thing just breathing for me. After I literally was about to drown. I know when I'm about to drown because, like I said, I've drowned almost a bunch of times surfing. And all of a sudden, I feel whatever it was leave me. And I'm still swimming. I start to see where the top is. And I'm swimming. And all of a sudden, whatever left, I'm like, I need you, like I'm about to drown again. And I felt it come back and to start breathing for me again. And I'm swimming. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's breathing for me. I get like this third breath actually. And it's breathing. And all of a sudden I feel it go again and my face breaks through the surface. It was freezing cold in Florida in the wintertime. It was a canal. And I was across the street from a Publix, and it's just like any supermarket. And it wasn't a standalone Starbucks, but the Starbucks was built into the mall, the shopping center itself, and still had the courtyard and everything. It's probably 3 o'clock in the morning. I see a random guy in the courtyard, really random. And so I can't see. I feel like, I don't know if it was spiritual or I hit my head on the windshield. I don't know what it was, but I was out of it. I could barely walk. I could barely talk. I couldn't see. Things are going everywhere. I walked to try to get this guy to give me a phone so I can call somebody. And I mumbled these words like, and I'm trying to tell him to let me see his phone. And the guy hands me his phone. I'm looking at the phone and the phone, its screen is doing this in front of my face. And I'm trying to hit the buttons while it's doing that. And I can't hit the digits. So I get frustrated. I just throw back his phone to him. And I sit on the chair. I put my feet on the other chair. And I go to sleep because I'm like, I'm just going to sleep here. They could kick me out in the morning whenever they get here at 6 or whatever. And all of a sudden, this guy, he taps me on the shoulder. He goes, hey, your ride is here. And I look up and I see a limo. And back in my Vegas days, there was limos, okay? This time in my life, there's definitely no limos in my life, right? And I'm looking, I'm like, nah, that's not mine, right? Never called anybody anything. So I go back to sleep, like, quit bothering me. You just gave me a headache because it's been a rough night. I was literally just trapped in death of prison. And so I'm sitting there and about, I don't know how many seconds or minute or whatever later, but the guy taps me on the shoulder again. He goes, hey, your ride is here. But the way he said it was like authoritative, like that's your ride and it's here to take you home. And all of a sudden I look up and the limo guy opens the back door. He says, sir, I'm here to take you home. And so I'm thinking in my head, just that closer mentality. Look, is this guy limo thinks it's for me, and he says he was going to take me home. I don't even care. I haven't even talked to anybody. He can drive me around however long he wants before he kicks me out. But at least I'll have a limo because I was just in the bottom of a canal. So anything's better than that. So I get up and I flop into the back seat. I see the sign, the company sign. I walk in, and sure enough, this guy takes me to the house that I was staying at. And I never gave him the address. So the next morning I wake up, and the friend I was staying with, she goes, how'd you get home last night? I didn't see so-and-so's car. I said, Angel Limousine company. They took me home. She said, Angel Limousine? There's no such thing as Angel Limousine here. And I was living in Naples at the time, Naples, Florida. And I said, yes, there is. They took me home. She says, there's no Angel Limousine. I said, well, then it's in Fort Myers. It's the neighboring city. She goes, I don't think there's one in Fort Myers either. So we started searching it. None in Naples, none in Fort Myers, none in Bonita Springs. We started looking at all the cities, and then we started getting like all of Florida, and there's no Angel Limousine. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's in there. I saw it. It's Angel Limousine. She's like, there was never at that point an Angel Limousine ever. And to this day, even theologically, I don't even mess with it. But I went home. It was like Angel Limousine. And my friend lost their BMW because the 2 cranes that it took for them to go there and actually take the BMW out of the canal cost more than the BMW was worth. So they ended up with their own broken BMW. So that was pretty crazy. And my friend still talks about it to this day, which is one of the few friends that saw the testimony. She saw me at my worst and saw me at my best, and also lost a BMW in the midst of it. But now that song is literally called Angel Limousine.
I love that. That's just incredible. Tony, I want to carry on this interview with another interview and go deeper into some of the story if you're willing to do so.
Absolutely. Have me on anytime.
Okay.
Loved you the moment I met you. Saw something different about you, my friend.
I love what you do. I love what you stand for. So thank you very much for sharing your message, sharing the stories. I know this is going to inspire the person listening to this. Where can they find you if they want to have a conversation? If they want to get some business from you, how do they get hold of you?
Business-wise, Tony at accessvirtualstaffing.com. So whether that's, for coaching, whether that's business, AI, sales mastery, any of those things, of course, you can go on Amazon for any of the books. So from the storytelling to the sales mastery, just type in Robert Ajhar, because Robert's my legal name. It's Robert Anthony. So under Robert Ajhar, you'll find all of them, whether that's, like I said, the LinkedIn one, the leadership one. I have a leadership one too. That's kind of funny. It's like a Spaceballs or Jeremy Piven from Entourage. That's kind of how I used to be. I was very like that. So I kind of built one with that kind of framework, but it goes against all the bad leadership out there. So any of those books you can find on there. You can find the music, the Stillwater Saints Revival and the albums on all music platforms. Angel Limousine will be coming out, like I said, in the next few days. And personally, if you need anything at all from a spiritual standpoint or just somebody to be there for you to encourage you, you can type in Baby Christian U, as in university, Baby Christian U, at iCloud.com. And I'm there for anybody. Anybody that just wants to even have a conversation free of charge. I'm there from a counseling standpoint. I'm there. I do counseling. I counsel many people all across the world, from youth to adults to all kinds of people, marriages. I do marriage counseling. And so from that pastoral experience, I have that. And that side is always free. And even then, if people can't afford a book and they need a PDF file, or I can get them a Kindle version because they sincerely, now I want sincere people, if they sincerely can't afford it, free of charge, I'll definitely buy you the Kindle version and send it to your Kindle, or at the very least, send you a PDF if you don't have the Kindle on your iPhone or tablet.
Tony, I love people like you. Thank you very much for sharing time with me, sharing your message.
Thank you for having me.
And also your wisdom. Ladies, gents, if you found this inspiring and you can share this with one person to change their life, please do so. For myself and Tony, remember, you're the miracle. And I'll see you again very soon on Rise from the Ashes.